And welcome to West Valley Unitarian Universalist. My name is Valerie Lynch, and I'm serving as the worship associate for this morning's service. Welcome, as we've been offering our services on Zoom in these pandemic times. We're so glad you joined us this morning. Everyone is welcome here, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation. We strive to be a community where everyone can be their true selves. You are welcome regardless of any educational level, financial status, ethnicity, political leanings, immigration status, or any of the other labels that are used to divide people in our world. They don't do so here. Thank you for coming, and we are very glad you are here this morning. Okay, I have a few announcements. First, I would like to announce that we will be returning to live services in June at long last. We're planning to continue to offer Zooming for those who still can't be in social settings yet, sort of a hybrid situation. So we look forward to getting together. Do save the date, Sunday, June 13th, when we will have the Congregational's annual meeting. It's really important for West Valley members to participate. It will follow the Sunday service, and it will be wonderful to get together if you can join us in person. Okay, this morning on Memorial Day Sunday, we begin our service with the lighting of the chalice with words from Tamara Bolton. This is the day we pay homage to all those who didn't come home. This is not Veterans Day. It's not a celebration. It's a day of solemn contemplation over the cost of freedom. Okay, let us now read together our covenant. Love is the doctrine of our congregation. The quest for truth is our holy right, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in friendship, thus do we covenant. Every week in our church, we take up an offering. We're not meeting in person yet, but still important to take care of our church community and to continue the spiritual practice of offering financial contributions. Please take a minute now to prepare a check to mail in or donate through the link that's in our chat box. We also have links on our website. Thank you, Joe. As a veteran, this day has very special meaning. Many of us know people family, and friends alike who didn't make it home. Today, we will hear some remarkable stories from 3 of our West Valley Unitarian Universalist veterans, Jim Reay, followed by Richard Brandis, followed by Kellye Perkins.
Thank you, Valerie. As a young boy, on long Memorial Day weekends, my family took a road trip from our Minnesota home to visit my parents' relatives in Iowa. Before interstate freeways, the 2-lane highways we traveled were mainly rural, dotted with small family farms. My siblings and I shouted in unison, "P.U." as we passed another farm site with penned animals. Our favorite cousins lived in Iowa, so it was a special treat to spend precious time with them. During the weekend, we made an obligatory visit to my grandparents' grave sites. I remember lots of flags on Memorial Day, but it wasn't until years later that I learned the true original meaning of our national holiday that occurs on the last Monday of May. Like Christmas and Easter, Memorial Day has adopted a variety of other meanings and purposes. Memorial Day has morphed into the celebration of the first weekend of summer, family gatherings, cookouts, and the anticipation of months of good swimming and every imaginable outdoor activity in most parts of the country. Memorial Day, previously, but now seldom called Decoration Day, is a federal holiday in the United States to honor and mourn the military personnel who have died in the performance of their military duties while serving in the United States Armed Forces. Many people visit cemeteries and memorials on Memorial Day to honor and mourn those who died while serving in the US military. Many volunteers place an American flag on graves of military personnel in national cemeteries. 2 other days celebrate those who have served or are serving in the US military. Armed Forces Day, which is earlier in May, is an unofficial US holiday for honoring those currently serving in the armed forces. And Veterans Day on November 11, which honors those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. It does not upset me that many, if not most people, do not understand or celebrate Memorial Day as it was originally intentioned. I'm pleased that most Americans currently show appreciation of those who serve and have served our military. I wish to share Memorial Day remembrances of my friend, Dewey Conrad, who died suddenly when our platoon was on a patrol in South Vietnam on August 2nd, 1969. I kept a daily journal during my months of combat. Writing my thoughts, however painful, was my coping method of striving to survive a daily volatile battle between life and death. From my journal, August 2nd, 1969. This was my worst day in the Army, maybe the worst of my life. Dewey Conrad from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, was killed by a 40-pound anti-tank mine booby trap. Can't describe how I feel. Dewey was such a nice guy, and we had shared so much. Our feelings about the Army and Vietnam were the same. Dewey had planned to return to base camp in 2 weeks to re-up, to re-enlist in the Army for 3 years to get out of light weapons infantry combat. Just seems unreal that he died this morning. After the loud explosion of Dewey's death, my platoon came into enemy contact. Gooks were hidden everywhere in the thick woods, and enemy snipers were picking off our guys. We pulled back. Airstrike coordinates were radioed in. When our planes had dropped their bombs, we went back in. Immediately, we received more sniper fire. Another guy was killed. 15 of 26 in my platoon were dusted off, flown to an emergency hospital clinic for treatment of wounds. Next day, August 3, 1969. Sure doesn't seem like Sunday. Up at 6 a.m. this morning to sweep the road for explosives down to Tranglap Village. Then we packed up all our gear and moved down the road to this observation point. We will be here 3 or 4 days, what's left of our platoon. Only a fraction of us is left. I was very fortunate not to pick up any shrapnel or injury of any kind yesterday. We have tower guard here and we check IDs of passing gooks. I feel lifeless, don't feel like doing anything. Just keep thinking of Dewey, 26 years old, college degree, ready to re-enlist to get out of here. And he was almost engaged. His family haven't even found out yet. I have traced the letters of Dewey Conrad's engraved name on the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. He was only a matter of yards ahead of me when he died. His kind friendship and captivating smile remain with me forever. I close with a poem written by Charles M. Province, a veteran of the U.S. Army. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, Richard.
Yes. Tell you about my cousin Ronnie. My cousin Ronnie and I grew up together. We would get together whenever circumstance would allow. Ronnie's dad, my Uncle Harley, was an airman during World War II and stayed in the Air Force. He was top dog, Chief Master Sergeant on base and at home. Ronnie's mother, my Aunt Helen, worked on whatever airbase, wherever they were stationed. Home life was always clean, tidy, and tight, ready for inspection at a moment's notice. Ronnie was on call 24/7. Ronnie was enrolled in New Mexico Military Institute when he turned 13. Cousin Ronnie relished the rare moments when he was allowed to let go of the persona he was born into. One of those moments came. A 4th of July holiday, the Oklahoma Cassidy clan gathered together on Grandma's outback yonder acreage. Grandma says, "Ronnie, you and Richard take this basket and get down and around the barn in the chicken coops and gather up all the eggs." Ka-ching! Ronnie and I got one of those rare moments. A meandering path led through eye-high Johnson grass, a thicket of blackberries, and several rows of fully grown okra. There was the barn, a bevy of chicken coops, and the creek. In and around that muddy red water creek was an assortment of waterfowl, mallard ducks, geese, and other unidentifiable feathered creatures peacefully lollygagging about. Soon, Ronnie and I had a couple of dozen eggs at hand. Oh, what opportunity awaits! Ronnie juggles an egg for a few seconds and then launches it high up into the air and in the direction of the intended targets. I soon followed. But Grandma, we didn't find very many eggs. The fried chicken was done, potato salad ready, and iced tea brewed. The Cassidy bunch sat down picnic style on the one patch of grass Grandma called her yard. 4th of July picnic was going along well. We were a Rockwell magazine cover in the making, a rare afternoon event for the many Cassidys that had found a way for all to come together. Then in marches a flock and gaggle army of many feathered malcontents loudly squawking their displeasure over recent events. The loudest gander waddles right up to Grandma, showing a bright yellow egg yolk as his crown. Squawk right to Grandma. He rather vociferously rats Ronnie and me out. We spent the rest of that weekend picking okra and blackberries in high humidity, sunny Oklahoma summer. I still itch. Ronnie continued on to Virginia Military Institute. In 1966, my draft number was called. Ronnie entered the United States Army to complete officers training. The fall of 1967, Ronnie and I both landed in South Vietnam. Second Lieutenant Ronald William Wood was killed in action on the 4th of February, just 2 weeks after his 21st birthday. I miss you, Ronnie, and I miss the opportunities that could have been.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay. Second Lieutenant Chester Donald Perkins, age 20, was killed in action during World War II. He was an aerial navigator and a gunner on a B-17G that they had nicknamed Big Chief. I didn't know this until I saw some pictures and read a little history, and apparently all of the World War II crew, they did artwork on their plane, and every plane had a nickname. So I just thought that was really cool, and I'll have a picture to show you here at the end. So the operation was called Frantic, and it was based out of Glatton, Station 130, Huntingdonshire, England. On June 21st, 1944, the 1st Air Division, 8th Air Force, sent 925 bombers to bomb motor industry targets in Berlin, Germany. 19 bombers were lost on this mission. 134 bombers flew from England to bomb Berlin and then on to the base in Russia where they were supposed to land. The operation was known as Frantic, and it was a disaster. 47 of the 73 planes that landed at a Russian airfield were attacked on the ground by German fighters and were destroyed. The 457th Bombardment Group, 751st Squadron, put up 37 aircraft with Major Leroy Watson in command. Flak was moderate, but 2 planes from the 457th were lost. The plane that our Uncle Chester was on blew up over the target, and the other plane left the formation due to an engine malfunction, and it was told to fly north to Sweden, and its crew was interned for the remainder of the war. So the 2 planes that were lost here, one got to go hang out in Sweden till the end of the war because they had a bad engine, and the other one was shot down. The reason for the loss: after dropping its bombs, the aircraft received a direct hit which knocked out an engine. The order to bail out was given as the aircraft spiraled down. It is known that at least 3 of the crew managed to escape before the aircraft exploded in mid-air. The wreckage fell to earth at 10:34 near Friesacker-Zutzen, some 60 kilometers northwest of Berlin. The fuselage and a greater part of the wings fell into a small meadow in a forest and was totally destroyed by fire. In an after-mission statement by an eyewitness, they said the aircraft was observed to have blown up west of Berlin at 10:26, and only 1 parachute had been seen by this person. Staff Sergeant Shankin, Heekin, and Sergeant Vasilopoulos, I had to learn how to pronounce that, were captured immediately after the crash and transferred to a prisoner of war collecting point. No records have been found that provide any information as to when and where Second Lieutenant Godinier was captured. No information has been found that provides any information as to the circumstances of the deaths of the 5 crew members that lost their lives, and Uncle Chester was one of these 5. Second Lieutenant Wilson was the pilot, and his youngest sister met some of her brother's fellow POWs, one of whom witnessed that her brother had been shot in the head by a German soldier for no apparent reason after he was captured. No records or other documentation has been found that confirms this allegation. So we don't know if Chester died in the explosion or made it out of the aircraft and was murdered on the ground. German documents record that the 5 members of the crew that perished were initially buried in the district cemetery at Friesack-Kreis-Havelland in the West Department, Section 2. Second Lieutenant Chester Donald Perkins was then reinterred at the Ardennes American Cemetery plot, row 5, grave 118. And then, after the war, he was repatriated and buried at the Poughkeepsie Rural Cemetery, Dutchess County, New York. He was the son of Harry Othmer and Martha Mary Miller Perkins, and my husband's uncle. So Paul's going to show a couple of quick pictures, and go ahead and throw the first one up, Paul. I love this picture. On the left is Chester playing a violin, and on the right is Richard's father playing the clarinet when they were young boys. You can go ahead to picture 2. This was the enlistment record of Chester, and the only thing I really wanted to point out here was that, you know, he was a navigator, and he sat second position behind the bombardier in the nose of the aircraft. So it was a tight, small area. And he was a small man. It says here he was 5 feet 7 1/4 inches and weighed 145 pounds. So I just thought this was interesting. And you can see in the lower left his thumbprint and then his handwriting, his signature. That is his signature on the right. And you can go ahead to picture 3. Okay, So this is the crew and their plane, and they nicknamed their plane the Big Chief. And Chester is on the back row. He is the second one from the right. Okay, and when you're ready, we can go to the next picture. This is just a listing of the crew members that were on this plane. On the left side, you can see the position in the aircraft. So P is pilot, and then co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, engineer, and turret. Then there's the radio operator, the ball turret gunner, the wing gunner, and the tail gunner. So I tried to learn what all these positions were. And then you can see their names. There was Wilson, Gardenier, Perkins, Strout, Shankin, Garcia. There were 9 people on this aircraft, but this aircraft was supposed to carry 10, so they were short of a wing gunner. You can see down below that only one WG, which is wing gunner. There's supposed to be 2. And then, of course, their status to the right, whether they were killed in action or were taken prisoner of war. And it shows Chester killed in action. And again, we don't know if he was murdered or if he was blown up. Okay, go to the next picture. This was special. It's signed by Franklin D. Roosevelt. And this is the memorial that was sent. In case any of you haven't seen what it looks like from our president. And so our president signed and sent a memorial to every single soldier that lost his life. And by the way, I did a little research, and the life expectancy of any airman on a B-17 during World War II was less than 50%. And they usually didn't live longer than 2 to 4 weeks, you know, the ones that died. So it was a high death rate. We lost 50,000 airmen during World War II. And most of them were under age 25. Okay, we can go to the next picture. This is Chester's Purple Heart for military merit and wounds received in action resulting in death, June 21st, 1944. And then the last picture. This is the case that's on display behind me, but you can see it up closer, kind of what Chester looked like, and his medals over here, all the medals that he received during his short tour of service. So it's really, you know, sad that that his death really caused a lot of angst in the family. He was the eldest son of 3, and it left a big hole, and it affected particularly Richard's father over the course of his life. They said that Richard's father was never the same after Chester died, and it was rough. So I'm glad that I was asked to bring honor to Chester today, so thank you for letting me tell the story.
Thank you, Kellye. Thank you so much for sharing these memories and these stories of people that meant so much to you and your families. It was really a an amazing way to honor this day, Memorial Day, on Memorial Day Sunday. Thank you. Okay, let us continue now with reading the mission statement of West Valley UU. We agree to provide a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for living better lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. Okay, we will now extinguish the chalice with some closing words by Nicole Mckay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old, and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to mourn and grieve with one another all our losses, the people, the stories, the loved ones, and the futures that could have been. We gather to do the hard work of facing the difficult realities of our present and our past, where there is conflict, violence, war, and hatred. We gather to hold space for silence as we try to make meaning of our history, to help us work for peace and justice today. We gather to rekindle our source of hope for our future by recognizing in one another our shared humanity. As we join in a concerted commitment for a better tomorrow, we gather because we need community to do all of this holy work. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. Thank you again, Jim, Richard, and Kellye, for these amazing reflections. Joe, Kristen, and Barry, thank you for the music you're providing for the service. And Paul and Barry for working this technology that makes this services possible. Paul, the way you put together this services is just such a gift to West Valley. So really, thank you. Okay, we will now have a postlude, and afterwards we will share the joys and concerns which will not be recorded due to respecting privacy concerns. And I ask, if you have someone in your family who died in a war, please put their name in the chat as part of our joys and concerns.